amount of attention, and therefore they are going to be the most correct. This is what happens when there is no consensus reality. Okay? Unfortunately, when there's no consensus reality, everything falls apart, and that's where we're at. This is the meta. This is the unfortunate reality of the media landscape that we exist in, and myself and many others have to, talk to a bunch of other people on the left. We have to try to figure out a new way to reach out to a broad audience, because I think trying to actively uh, disparage whatever kind of new idiocy is coming from the right is clearly not going to work. The reason why I'm talking about this is not because of this specific instance, okay? The reason why I'm talking about this story in general is because you will see this dynamic play itself out over and over again, especially leading up to the midterms. Anytime Donald Trump is underwater on a certain issue, anytime people start going, hey, what about that affordability you were promising us that didn't work, he's going to throw another grenade similar to this one. And then the right wing slot merchants will store whichever area of interest exists, like a bunch of piranhas, and the story will be whatever they want you to pay attention to. Yeah, lowest tier slopaganda gets the goods. It has the most effective results. The Trump admin cutting off all child care funding during cost of living crisis because the January 6th insurrectionist cameraman made a completely fake, debunked YouTube video of himself going to daycares outside of their business hours. And there are still people going, which was it debunked, and by whom? It's over and over and over again. And that's what's so crazy about it, because unfortunately, this kind of dumb propaganda does work on a lot of people. Okay, that's what it is, and that's where we're at. Yeah, here's a flashback from the background of Nick Shirley and other nuisance streamers such as this one. Per Reuters, Nick Shirley, the guy behind the Minnesota daycare fraud video, once paid Hispanic day laborers he recruited at Home Depot $20 to hold pro-Biden signs in front of the White House to gin up fears of an invasion. Right? Half a dozen Hispanic day laborers were paid $20 each to parade in front of the White House on camera holding signs with slogans like, I love Biden, I need a work permit for my family. The stunt was orchestrated by Nick Shirley, a pro-Trump online influencer who often asks migrants on camera if they support the Democratic President Joe Biden or think he made it easier for them to come to the U.S. One of the Nick Shirley told men he recruited at a Home Depot parking lot where day laborers typically wait for jobs. In a video later posted to YouTube, what Biden did for migrants is very kind, right? Letting everyone come in. So we are going to show him and say thank you. Shirley, a 22-year-old with more than 318,000 followers on social media, is among the new class of influencers supportive of the Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, who are helping shape the immigration debate as the U.S. election campaign heats up. This guy is a Mormon whose mom drives him around still to this day. Was at January 6th, and he's been at the scene of every single right wing cultural touch point, making propaganda like this, and now one of them hit big. Okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen over and over again. You guys think this shit is irrelevant? It pisses you off that people are stupid. It pisses you off that someone who is genuinely mentally inept is capable of having this reach and is capable of getting the government to basically use this dog hoarding and manufactured hysteria to cut funds. To all child care facilities in every state. Someone who is illiterate is capable of doing that. Yeah, I get that it offends your sensibilities, you find yourself to be much smarter than this, but it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, if slop is king, we have to do it. We have to cover it. It upset me reading comments on the IG clip. Yes. Don't ever do that, honestly. It is so much worse. It is so much worse than you think. This is going to hurt MAGA folks, too, because they need to have their kids watched and they're poor. I know. But this is how it's always worked, historically. In the United States of America, Republicans have always gotten on board with cutting welfare initiatives and cutting social safety nets that they rely on because they think black people are stealing it. That's where the welfare queen strategy comes from. They're gutting entitlements programs. They're gutting welfare because, and people who rely on this stuff, disability and the like, are championing the gutting of welfare because in their minds they're perceiving people who are not worthy, people who are not deserving of this social safety nets, taking advantage of it, okay? Or even engaging in fraud. You cannot think you're above this. You cannot just simply say these guys are stupid and wrong, okay? You cannot just say, oh, I don't want to touch this. This is too dumb. You have to pull people out of this stupor, okay? You have to, or else we're in this media environment where things move rapidly, things go viral instantly. Mainstream reporters move far too slow, okay? And especially when there's not a lot of interest in stories like this, because they're like, who gives a this shit, man? I don't understand. Why are you even covering this? If that's your attitude, you're gonna lose. If that's your attitude, you're gonna let the dummies dominate discourse, dominate the narrative, okay? Donald Trump is president for a reason. We have to fight back. Anyway, here is one example of the stupidity of Nick Shirley's video.
Check out your top stories this morning. We're following major developments in Minnesota's fraud crisis, specifically related to child care. Here's the latest. If you got hit, even as a passenger or in an Uber, you would need to try this. Related to child care. Here's the latest.
The state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon billions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says it's freezing.
If you want this YouTube quality, it's the second video on the playlist. Okay, sure, but yeah, sure.
Your top stories this morning. We're following major developments in Minnesota's fraud crisis, specifically related to child care. Here's the latest.
We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon billions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says it's freezing.
The next meta in this, for the record, is going to be finding any sort of issues with any number of different daycares, as long as it's like operated by a Somali person, and then hammering that on as though that was the major point, as though that was the real argument that they were conducting. So get ready for that as well. They're too stupid to recognize that there was already one daycare facility that was operated by one of the defendants in the previous investigation that had taken place. They're too stupid to know that one daycare facility was actually closed. Once they figure that out, they're going to be like, well, see? There's the proof. Again, their lack of interest or their lack of knowledge, but the overarching lack of knowledge on this stuff, the overarching lack of interest and lack of knowledge on pre-existing investigations that have been conducted into it is how these guys get to make this seem like it's a totally new story and also simultaneously expand on the target.
Claimed to uncover fraudulent centers in a viral video. The state gets about $185 million in federal funds each year. The HHS deputy secretary says he's demanded Minnesota Governor Tim Walz audit the centers featured in that video. The governor responded on X, saying, quote, "This is Trump's long game. We've spent years cracking down on fraudsters. It's a serious issue, but this has been his plan all along. He's politicizing the issue to run programs that help Minnesotans." Some of the featured child care centers are now firing back. This one says footage from their security cameras proves kids were...
Why is daycare not open on a Sunday? Seems strange. You don't find that suspicious? Wait, what? You're joking, right?
For president.
I know it's already happening.
Dude, what in the fuck?
I know, that's
God,
another pro-Israel. That's another Israel.
So bomb.
This is ABC Learning Center in Minneapolis. Director Ahmed Hassan gave WCCO a tour after finding his daycare in the national spotlight.
Hi, we've arrived to ABC Learning.
Yeah, they also show security cam footage. Hold on. Here,
This
look.
has been his plan all along.
Sorry.
The child care centers are now firing back. This one says footage from their security cameras proves kids were present when the YouTuber stopped by.
Like, can you imagine? Like, I cannot believe that this is what it's gotten down to, where they have to be like, see, there's children. The f- are you talking about? Here's our security footage. That's insane. That is insane. Again, because they don't have object permanence, because people don't have object permanence, this is not going to be enough, because they're going to be like, oh, sure, bud. Well, I didn't see the entire security footage. I need to see the faces of every child that has walked in. I need to know what kind of finger painting initiative they engaged with. I need to know what kind of chicken nuggets they had. Was the middle of the chicken nugget cold? Was it too hot? I need to know all of it. Otherwise, I will not believe you. And it goes back to the dumbest guy you know saying, well, did you see it literally with your own two eyes? How can you believe anything if you don't personally experience it? That is where we're at. It's not even about going back to the drawing board and explaining to people how investigations are conducted and how court proceedings take place, how people get charged with a crime, people get arrested in the process. Like, it's beyond that. You need to explain to people, you need to start explaining to people, unfortunately, that sometimes you can rely on information from trusted sources, right? Like a book, for example. You can read something. You don't have to, directly observe everything to believe that it actually happened, okay? That's not how information works. That's not how learning works. If we didn't do this, right? If the only stuff that we could believe was things that we observed with our own two eyes, then there would be no thousands of years of knowledge that we're relying on in order to expand on pre-existing technological improvements, for example. That's just not how this would work.
Connor White went there to take a closer look.
This is ABC Learning Center in Minneapolis. Director Ahmed Hassan gave WCCO a tour after finding his daycare in the national spotlight.
Hi, we've arrived to ABC Learning Center.
In a now viral video, right-wing YouTuber Nick Shirley claims nearly a dozen daycare centers in Minnesota are taking public funds but not providing a service. He says ABC Learning Center is one of them, knocking on the door in mid-December.
I would like to check a child in the daycare.
Hassan says his employee didn't respond because Shirley was in a group of about 8 people, and his staff were concerned about recent ICE activity. Is this daycare free from? Hassan showed us security footage from the same day Shirley was here, according to the timestamp. Oh wow! Just as I called, and I'm not a particularly brilliant person, okay? I'm not. I just have common sense. And unfortunately, it's not so common anymore. This is what I said. Why would anybody open the door to people with cameras and being like, oh, I want to sign up my son Joey. He's not here right now. You don't have to be genius to figure out how stupid this narrative was. It's time This woman takes a young child into the center at around midday. About 3 hours before Shirley arrives at the door closer to the street. Within the hour after Shirley leaves, Olin arrives at the other door with a stroller. The larger family heads inside a few hours later. Tuesday afternoon, WCCO found at least a dozen children at ABC Learning Center, which is licensed with the state. Records show Minnesota officials last visited the daycare in November, noting some corrected and ongoing violations related. Yeah, this is the reason why I said this is a filter, okay? This video was a filter. Straight up. Day-to-day operations. No record of fraud. DOC, the daycare's current donor, believes these latest fraud accusations are political. Both she and Hassan are Somali Americans. With Shirley's video and I cannot. The other thing is, how do people not even realize that this is bad from, a national security perspective, for example? No one seems to care. Everyone is so proud of how stupid they've become. There's this, shared comfort, with the collective knowledge that, the guy next to you is just as dumb as you are, so it doesn't really matter. There's no reason to apply any sort of skepticism into it. You know? How the so many people consistently apologize. I see that completely unrelated cause. It's because my haters are normal. They lose their minds. They literally carry that over to every platform. You need to understand. It's not like anything I've ever seen. It's like I personally went to their house and like killed their moms or something and like killed their loved ones. When someone decides they despise me, they don't just go, yeah, I don't like this guy, I'm with him and move on with their life. They literally go, anywhere I see this person, even in unrelated places, even in areas where it's not even relevant to the conversation, I will constantly carry this resentment. Some of these people have more of a derangement syndrome than even like voters do with Donald Trump. It's one of the more insane things I've ever encountered. It is not something I can do. We gotta stay on subject. Let's just continue. Approaching 2.3 million views on YouTube alone. They say they are getting non-stop phone calls from Mexico. With many of those calls attached to out-of-state phone numbers. Connor White, WCCO News.
This on there says they turned over attendance records to comply with the Department of Homeland Security request, and they're now waiting to hear back. CBS News is reviewing records related to safe daycares. All but 2 have active licenses. While the active places have violations related to safety or staff training of fraud. Another facility highlighted in the YouTube video was Quality Learning Center. The people operating it would not speak with us, but we did talk to a mother dropping off her kids.
I'll say it like this. Out of all the facilities they went to, the only one that I'm a little bit sus on is this one, the Quality Learning Center. People say stage. I don't think it is. But there are inconsistencies with the Quality Learning Center. No disrespect if they're running a clean operation. I apologize. And it's not because of the name of the signage. I don't care about that. But there is something that doesn't add up with that because of the inconsistencies with what the state has said about that place being not an operation. It's about the place not being in operation, but the place is, as a matter of fact, very clearly in operation. So that was the one. That was the thing that I didn't understand, especially because like it received the most citations as well. It received the most citations out of all of the other daycare facilities. I'm not validating the conspiracy theories. I'm just exercising healthy skepticism. Okay, exercising healthy skepticism and healthy scrutiny. Okay, that's it. I don't have any evidence that this place is actually fraudulent. It's certainly not fraudulent in the way that Nick Shitley was claiming it was.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of evidence. We spoke with another woman who says she owns the building that houses the daycare. She says they've been operating there since 2017. And these allegations of fraud are having real-life consequences. Take a look. This child care facility says it's dealing with the fallout of fraud allegations. The its daycare center in Minneapolis says the vandals did extensive damage there overnight yesterday. They believe divisive and hateful rhetoric toward the Somali community is to blame. We're expecting to learn more details later today.
Fast track your career from service training to tonight health to the San Diego area. The campus is located in Chula Vista and Oceanside. You can get hands-on training and graduate in as few as 10 months. We offer programs in healthcare and trades, so you can learn career-specific skills that employers in today's market demand. Classes are every month and there are no general requirements. Choose your path to a new career today. Learn more about UPI College's Chula Vista and Oceanside campuses at upi.edu.
Be quick.
Federal agents are conducting a, quote, massive operation in Minneapolis right now. The Department of Homeland Security has posted these videos of agents going door to door at suspected fraud sites. The daycare investigation represents a new front in Minnesota's fraud fight. More than 50 people have been convicted so far in the $250 million COVID-era scheme involving Feeding Our Future. Prosecutors believe fraud in 14 state Medicaid service programs.
I think the other side of the story, once again, that is perfectly valid to address is that This is not a Somali-only issue, obviously. Even this, the initial fraud investigation that was conducted was run by a white woman. Nobody ever talks about her, ironically enough. Like, the person who cooked up the scheme is literally a white lady, okay? The one who's going to prison, like, the top dog, is a white lady. Odd. That rarely ever gets mentioned in the coverage, okay? Her name is Amy Bach, and not only is she the white lady who cooked up the scheme, she's also connected to the current mayor, Jacob Frey. So there is actually a connection. There is actually a connection with the existing Democrats in charge, but a lot of people are too racist and too predisposed with talking about how this is a Somali scheme that they haven't even done the proper research connecting people to one another. Also, none of it is recent. Yeah, Barry CBS 2. Amy Bach, founder and executive director of the Minnesota Nonprofit.
Had my heart pumping at the end there. Oh man.
COVID era fraud involving approximately $250 million in federal child support. No mention of the ringleader in this article. I wonder why, Barry Weiss. Isn't that crazy? Amy Bach and Salim Saeed took advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic to carry out a massive fraud scheme that stole money meant to feed children. This is disgusting, and I'm glad that these people got their day in court, and I'm glad that they're going to prison. Okay? Make no mistake. It don't matter to me whether they're Somali or white. Fraud is fraud. You understand? Especially when it comes to welfare fraud such as this one, which is the most disgusting, because these are funds that are supposed to feed children. You're using money that is allocated to feed children to buy yourself nice cars. You're a asshole. One of the reasons why I, say we got to become more Chinese right now, because I think we all know how this would have been conducted and concluded in China, okay? And yes, it would have extended to members of the party if there was enough evidence of their involvement as well. Do you understand? The defendants falsely claim that they have served 91 million meals, for which